What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about Naughty Dog and a confirmation of something we've heard a little bit about before. Now, to me, I kind of saw it coming. Like, it wasn't as big of a news story as I think it was actually to many other people. So I thought, all right, well, we definitely have to do a video on it still. So we've heard time and time again, whether it was kind of behind the scenes, like they're looking for actors, whether it's like, well, multiple people are kind of being directors, and it's like, well, normally, a director gets a game, not like 5 games, right? So we've had, I think, several signs that they were working on at least, by the way, 2 games, Intergalactic and then something else. There's even a potential that there is or was a 3rd game. I think there was a rumor that maybe a 3rd game got canceled. Either way, okay, there was an idea that they were working on 2 games. Now, Neil Druckmann just said in an interview a couple days ago that is true. He wasn't really addressing the rumors, but he was saying, yeah, what he does on Intergalactic, and he can also kind of do more of a producer role on the other game, and he can kind of, write notes and give feedback, and he can kind of jump around, and he likes doing, things like that. Cool, I suppose, but inadvertently or, through that, there's your confirmation, right? They're officially working on more than just one game. Now, I feel like something should be said like, well, thank God, right? Or obviously, whatever kind of word you want to use. I'll say this. It feels good kind of no matter what. Intergalactic is this mixed kind of game online, right? There's definitely different people that have different opinions on that game. But I think I genuinely mean this. No matter your opinion on that game, I think it still honestly holds weight to hear that Naughty Dog is doing more than just that game. Not even necessary to be like, well, if that game sucks, at least they have like a backup thing. Not even from that angle. I guess you could look at it from that angle, depending on how you see the situation. From my perspective, it's like, okay, thank God the former Titan of PlayStation, is working on more than one game. It's not necessarily a fallback plan. It's, okay, Naughty Dog, once, I think, carried PlayStation largely through quality, maybe a little bit of quantity too, because those Uncharted games came out, and then even The Last of Us, at a pretty good pace. Obviously, at least in my opinion, they've fallen off. And when I say fallen off, and I've said this before, I just don't think they're the best PlayStation studio anymore. I think they still do some things better than almost anyone on the planet, but I don't know. I think they've been surpassed in different ways by different studios. I think you look at what Santa Monica did with even God of War 2018, even if you're not a big fan of Ragnarok. Sucker Punch is kind of quietly just always extremely good. Insomniac kind of saved PlayStation for a good amount of time, dropping the little indie game known as Spider-Man. So I don't know. I just feel like Naughty Dog has fallen back a little bit. And I'm just saying that because that's kind of like my outlook, where it's like, that's how I feel. And then it's like, okay, they're working on 2 games. So it's like, well, it's a chance. Like, they have a chance that we can kind of have a comeback story, for them. And now here's what I'll say, though. A couple other things to be said about this. What is that second game, and when would that game release? Now, we did get one extra tidbit because, Neil talked about it just a little. Now, and I'll say this even too, my assumption was that the second game was a smaller game, okay? And that was just, we've kind of gone over the evidence actually in past videos, so I won't bore you with the details, but I always assumed that it was Intergalactic and then a smaller game. And then maybe even like Last was Part 3, like if you want to have the 3 games. That was my assumption. So Shinobi from Twitter, he's obviously on different social media sites as well, incredibly plugged in. He works in the industry, like he knows some stuff. He was asked point blank if it's a short, small game, right? If it's like small in scale. And he answered point blank, no. So one thing that can be said is these are 2 like big games. Now, I almost wonder if it was Intergalactic blank short game and then Last of Us Part 3, and that short game was canceled, and now it's Intergalactic Last of Us. That is a path. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know if that, like, if I were to bet money, I don't know if I would bet, like, that is what is actually happening. But that is just, like, that was the first thing that kind of went through my mind. That was the order that I assumed it was going, was Intergalactic, short game, Last was Part 3. And the game was canceled, maybe. And then these are both two big games. So, like, what happened to the short game? If there even was a short game, maybe that's on me. Maybe that's the assumption, right? So, okay, again, what is that game? And then when is it coming out? I am not going to sit here and pretend like I believe that both these games can come out on PS5. I think there are some people that believe that. Well, I want to believe it. I want to believe that just Intergalactic can come out on PS5. And I want to, derail it and get more negative again on Naughty Dog. But, a big thing, and again, a reason why I've talked about their situation right now. What have they done the last little while? Their PS5, production has been The Last of Us, solely The Last of Us, and not really actually a new Last of Us, actually just remastering and remaking past games. So, that's, to me, that's unacceptable from your flagship studio. Again, don't want to go too far into the negative, but, to be honest, so they need it. They need something in the PS5 generation. Intergalactic would satisfy that. Can you get both games out? I really don't see how that's going to happen, right? Intergalactic would have to come out extremely late next year. And I don't even know if that would even happen, to be honest with you. And then you'd be looking at like late 27, and then you would get that other game. And even, by the way, if you come out late 27, you're most likely a cross-gen game because as time has gone on, more and more likely, the fall of 27 is when the next Xbox and PlayStation are coming out. I don't really think that's going to change. I once had hoped it was 2028, but it seems like it's 2027. So I just don't see a path. Like, Intergalactic's not coming out this year. It's not coming out first half of next year. So then within a year, you're going to release two games. I just don't see it. I personally believe Intergalactic could be like early 27, and then the game after 28, maybe second half of 28, and you're in the PS6 generation. So it doesn't help the narrative, like kind of the optics of Naughty Dog and the PS5, but it is what it is, and ultimately, I still want to come out of this more positive than negative, that, again, this is a chance. This is like, because the other side of things, by the way, would have been Intergalactic comes out, then you wait 5 years, then you get the next game. And that's Naughty Dog's output. And I mean, yeah, you had factions. Like, I'm not trying to just like avoid that. That was probably their PS5 outlook was supposed to be factions and then Intergalactic. And then obviously things happened there. So, where we're at now, the best you can hopefully ask for is 27, 28, somewhere around there. But again, that hope of like, okay, they're doing games simultaneously. And I guess, again, almost confirmed, not confirmed, whatever you want to say, they're both big games. It's not a 5-hour game and Intergalactic. It's two, like, meaty-sized games, which is great. That's a fantastic thing. If you can get them out quick, that would be even better, but, whatever. So to really quickly, though, end this video, like, what could it be? I have, obviously, Nathan Drake here behind me. I'll be a little bit more controversial than I already have been. I think it makes sense for them to do an Uncharted, and I wouldn't want them to do it. And that's kind of my I don't even know how controversial it is. The longer we have moved on from Amy Hennig and even Bruce Straley, by the way, let's not diminish him. He was more Last of Us, but he was a huge part of kind of like the coming out part. Like when Uncharted really started to be like absolutely incredible, Uncharted 2 on. And obviously Amy Hennig meant the world to Uncharted and vice versa. I don't know. I don't really want to see it be messed with continuously afterwards. I feel like the only way left is to go down instead of going up. If you think they peaked at 4, that's great. If you didn't, that's great too. But I mean, I just feel like the more you play with that fire, the more burnt you're gonna get. And I have said before, like, I actually want Uncharted to continue, and I think Uncharted will continue. I just think it should be given brand new life. Like, if you're not gonna do Amy Hennig, like, that era's gone. I mean, it's ridiculous to like think that you would ever get that back. So if you're going to keep going at this point, honestly, it's not the same anyway. Hand it off. Hand it off to somebody who's just very, like, Expedition 33, how passionate they've been for, like, the history of JRPGs, and they crafted, like, one of the greatest games, of the last 10 years. Can we do that? Like with Uncharted, right? It's like they could do it. Naughty Dog could do it, but they could also hand it off to some studio that just has an enormous passion for action-adventure games that loves Uncharted and have them do. Like, that's my dream scenario. So Uncharted is a potential. Last of Us Part 3 is a potential, or new IP. I would like to throw in Jak and Daxter, but see, I think Jak and Daxter would be a short game. If I were to say, okay, they're making a Miles Morales type game, right? 6 to 8 hours. I think that could be a Lost Legacy type thing or a Jak and Daxter game. If this game is not, which it's, as we've just talked about, if that's not the case, I think Jak and Daxter is out. So I would throw that one out. You could say just a brand new Uncharted. Like, that would probably fit the criteria. Last was Part 3. But if it's Last was Part 3, why wouldn't Neil be the director of that as well? So maybe that kind of hurts that potential as well. So, I mean, maybe you pray for Jak and Daxter. Maybe you hope or not hope for Uncharted, depending on who you are, or another brand new IP, which is also cool. Just keep them coming because you want them to hit. And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you're going to hit. Like, Intergalactic might not hit. You might not have a franchise. You could. You absolutely could. But you might not. And then, okay, well, you have the next game. Same thing. You could hit. You could not. But you have more chances the more of these new IPs that you make. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel. Bell icon turned on. And I hope to see you all on the next one.